I'm a person that likes to get on top of things and get it done.
What would you say is your superpower?
My superpower would be that I care about all sports. I grew up in a Class A school out in West Texas and played multiple sports. I think as an AD, you have to understand that there are no major sports. You've got to treat them all the same, and you've got to make sure that not only do those kids and coaches feel important in one specific sport, but they feel just as important in another sport as well.
Most ADs, when they get inducted to the THSADA Hall of Honor, retire. But not this week's Director's Cut guest, Rodney Chant. In this episode, we talked to Rodney about his transition from larger districts like Pasadena and Fort Bend to the tight-knit community of San Angelo. He breaks down what changes in a smaller setting, what doesn't, and why building relationships with coaches, kids, and even their families is everything. Rodney also shares some real-world advice for young coaches, talks about drawing the line between friendships and leadership, and reveals the one tool he uses every season to keep his staff aligned. Before we dive into these topics, we do want to thank our partner in this episode, and that's KALWALL. KALWALL has been providing the world with the most advanced solutions in diffuse daylighting for over 70 years. KALWALL strives to be leaders in the building industry by maximizing energy savings and harvesting free sunlight while providing affordable, productive, and healthy environments for all building occupants. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoy this THSADA Director's Cut. Rodney Chant, it's good to see you. And what's really interesting is we inducted you into the Hall of Honor, and then you're still working. Usually people are retired or going to retire. So where are you at now? What's kind of your update, and what's it like to get inducted to the Hall of Fame but keep on working in the industry?
Well, it is different. Usually, I again notice that after being inducted that most everybody was in their last year and retired and that type of stuff. So I felt fortunate to have that opportunity and still have a number of years still to go before retiring. So I'm still out in San Angelo as Executive Director of Athletics in San Angelo. Enjoying it. I grew up out in West Texas, so it was going back home, and so we're just plugging along and getting ready for next school year.
Going from Fort Bend to San Angelo, multi-high school district, one-horse town. What was the dynamic, or what are the lessons you learned in that shift and how to have impact?
Well, actually, we have two high schools. We've got a 6A and a 4A. And of course, in Pasadena, where I was, we had 5 6A high schools, and then Fort Bend, it was just a little bit larger, and then just downsizing a little bit in San Angelo. But the fact of the matter is, the issues are still the same. It's just not as magnified because there's not as many schools. But you have an opportunity to get to know the coaches even more because you don't have as many schools. You get to know the athletes. You get to know the community and the parents a little bit more, which can be positive and negative. And a small town mentality. Friday nights in Houston. A lot of times there's a lot of other things to do. But in West Texas, everything seems to shut down on Friday nights for Friday night football, and the stands are full, and so it's a great feeling to see that support is still out there in those communities, and it's a focal point for so many people in the community.
Now, for the gunner, that young AD that might be in that small town, that really everything's about that program for that community, that really wants to get to the big district, really wants to show, maybe accomplish the big goal of being at the 5-10 high school district. What advice do you have about enjoying where they're at?
Nowadays with the young coaches, it's always looking for the greener pastures and that type of stuff. I always tell coaches that I think they need to start at the middle school level first and learn what it is to coach kids that have never played before, and having to break things down to the most elementary level of having to teach them the basics of how to line up. No longer do you have to put pads in your pants, but you used to have to put pads in your pants, or how to operate a locker. And for us, we take that for granted. But a lot of kids coming in have not played, have had that background in playing, and so you're having to grow those kids from the very beginning. And then moving up to the high school level, and just understand that you've got to earn your right for that next level of coaching. A lot of kids coming out of college, they think they should be an offensive or defensive coordinator just right off the bat, and that's not the case. You got to put in your time and your dues and learn about programs, learn about systems, do the little things in the background, whether it's mowing the field or it's doing the laundry or taking care of equipment. Learn all the things that will help you build towards that next level of moving to a larger district. That's going to help you benefit in everything from coaching to athletic administration.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see you really can't lead it unless you've done it. And so for those that are trying to jump into a leadership role right away, who's going to follow somebody that's never done what they're asking me to do?
Yep. And it takes time. And you've got to be willing to put in that time and the dues to do that, because you're right. They're just not going to follow you just because you've got that title. You've got to have that experience that maybe you've coached multiple sports. If you're at the middle school level, you've coached football, basketball, track, tennis, soccer, whatever the case may be. Then you've gone to the high school level, and you've coached multiple sports. You're trying to tell coaches how to do things in sports maybe that you've never coached before. So having that experience that you've coached those sports kind of gives you a little frame of reference whenever you're trying to tell another coach or a head coach, hey, here's what you need to be doing, and they know that you've had that experience in the past.
So for somebody that's, again, inducted to the Hall of Honor, going to a smaller school district, very, very competent, what are you still trying to learn more about? Like, what's the skill that you're trying to improve on right now?
Well, I think always be trying to improve as a leader.
Specific. I'm not going to let you just kind of graze over that one. Specifically, like, I'm trying to really get better at this minor thing. What is that?
I've always tried to say there's a fine line between working with coaches and friendships and that type of stuff, trying to connect with them and that type of stuff. To me, there's a point that, you don't cross over, where the case may be. In smaller school districts, you see those coaches around in the community more than you would in a larger school district. So for me, getting to know those coaches even more, building those relationships is always important. And so, developing new techniques that's coming out, whether it's technology or whatever the case may be. It's kind of funny. We still take checks at football games out in West Texas, or for season tickets. Checks are unheard of in the Metroplex or in the Houston area. You don't see those very much, but a little bit behind the times out in West Texas, and just trying to improve technology and how we do things and be more efficient. So in the long run, things will run smoother.
Where, for the advice of, and this is for young coaches too, and ADs all the way up, how do you advise people on how to draw that line between friendship and professional relationship? Like, what is too close and what is, you got to build a relationship? Because every answer, whenever I ask people how to be successful, they all say it's all about relationships. But as you just said, there's a line that you can cross to where it's like, hey, that's beyond a professional relationship. You're too much of a buddy to that person, guy or girl.
I think developing those relationships, first you have to get to know that person's background and find out more about where they came from, maybe about their current life, family, siblings, brothers, sisters. I think getting to know the coaches and their background, where they're coming from, where they grew up, finding out maybe a little bit about their life, their background, their home life, how they grew up, how that helps them approach how they're going to do their job and developing relationships with kids, learning about their family. I think it's always important, finding out about what their wife does and what their kids do, how old are they. I think trying to connect with the family as a whole whenever you see them at ball games, in the hallways or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to after work and that type of stuff, to me there's a line. We're not going to go out and eat or any of that type of stuff. Maybe when we have a coaches get together or something like that, that's when we are developing relationships more and more with families as a whole. But I think at a point, you've got to say no, because there's got to be that difference between professional life and personal life.
Yeah, love that. And for you, the association, tell us about what role the association has had in your path through athletic administration?
Okay. Whenever I first became an assistant AD 17 years ago, I immediately got involved in the association, and so it was fairly small at that point. And coming to the state ADs conference, the professional development that Bob and Rusty have put on over the years and just helped me grow as an athletic director. The relationships that I built with other athletic directors in the state, in the Houston area, in West Texas, has only benefited me because through those relationships, those ADs have taught me, how to approach different situations, or here's how we do this, or here's how we do that. And then I'm able to carry that over into my athletic director responsibilities. And so it's been a huge role in me becoming the athletic director that I am, getting involved in the Athletic Directors Association as the vice president, as the president. Has been invaluable, and so it's just helped me build into the leader that I've become.
Well, you talk about leadership, and for the mentors that you had early on, what piece of advice has stayed with you throughout your athletic administrative career?
It's kind of funny, but I think one of the first things that someone told me was pace yourself. I'm a person that likes to get on top of things and get it done. But then, which causes a little stalemate of maybe things, you're not doing anything, and they said, to pace yourself, take your time, make sure you get it right, don't rush through it. Again, what you're putting out there is going to be a reflection upon you, and so you want to look professional in whatever way that you're doing. And so just pace yourself, understand it's about the coaches and it's about the kids and doing what's right for them and providing those opportunities to help them be successful, no matter whether it's at the middle school level or at the high school level.
And I think it's funny when you're an assistant or you're a head coach and you're not an AD yet, it's really easy to say, like, why don't we just do it this way? Let's just do it that way. And then when it's your decision, it's like, let's think about this a little more.
You've got to look at the big picture instead of the tunnel vision. And that's what I have to tell some coaches sometimes is you're worried about your sport and you only. I have to look at all sports and how it's going to affect everybody, because if I allow you to do this, then it's a domino effect, and I've got to let them do that, and then I've got to let them do that. So I've got to look at the big picture and not be tunnel vision in just your specific sport.
What would you say is your superpower?
I think my superpower would be that I care about all sports. I grew up in a Class A school out in West Texas and played multiple sports. I think as an AD, you have to understand that there are no major sports, that they're all equal. It doesn't matter whether it's football or if it's 7th grade C-team basketball. You've got to treat them all the same, and you've got to make sure that not only do those kids and coaches feel important in one specific sport, but they feel just as important in another sport as well. And make sure that they know that you care about their sports because you're there watching them coach, or you're watching them there watching them play. And that is just important, whether it's golf or tennis, which is just as major sport as it is on football or basketball on Tuesday and Friday nights.
Do you think where you're at now at San Angelo is the best fit for you in terms of your, what you want out of your day-to-day, or do you still desire to have that big district type of pressure?
There's pressure. It doesn't matter where you're at. With a lot of schools, there is a lot of pressure that comes with that. With larger school districts, it also can be difficult in smaller school districts, depending on how important athletics is in those districts, and especially out in West Texas. Like I said, just football as a whole, how important it is out in West Texas. It's a way of life for many of them, and winning is the only thing. And I know that's not the only thing. It's not the whole reason that athletics is there. It's the greatest at-risk program that we have in our schools, and so that's a consistent that I've always tried to keep, that, yes, we want to win, but there are invaluable things that we learn even from losing as well. And really we're going to probably lose in life more than we win, many times. And so, I think there's pressure wherever you're at. It just may be greater depending on sports, and then, the involvement in the community.
What's something unique at your school district that might be helpful for others to know about so that they can implement it in their communities?
I think it's always important that you have head coaching meetings before seasons begin, to sit down with those head coaches, to go through a checklist. You want to make sure that they're following the guidelines, making sure that they get in their travel requests, making sure that they have got their UIL checklist, making sure they've got their eligibility forms, just a long list. They're reminding them about academic all-state, making sure they're part of the right organizations so that those kids have an opportunity to be maybe put in all-star games or academic all-state. Making sure that they're checking their facilities, making sure they're checking their scoreboards, just a checklist to make sure that things run smoothly for them throughout the season. They've got a lot of things they've got to do already in regards to their mindset, in regards to coaching their kids. But if they take care of the little things, the big things will come easy.
And do you have like that checklist, like all documented out on a big sheet or in a handbook?
I do. And it's a checklist that I've been using since I became an athletic director. It has 40 or 50 things on it, but we go through and just check off and just reminders. We just all want to be on the same page and try to make sure that we don't have any issues along the way.
I love that, Rodney. Well, thank you so much for coming down to the Director's Cut stage, and enjoy the conference.
Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate all your help in the Athletic Director Association over the years, getting us out there and giving us the props of all the work that we do in Texas. And again, we appreciate you.
Thank you.